This is my old stomping ground from years ago. I developed the Black Fox project back from 2002 through 2010. And it's still in production today, but we came back by popular demand up in the Timmins area about 2 years ago. I got an opportunity to use a shell company called Here Nickel and develop it into what's called Galleon Gold today, and rename the project that was originally drilled as the PTW property, and rename it West Cache. It needed a real gold mining name. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today. And obviously there's a disclaimer because I may step over myself and say some things that are a little florid. So anyway, memorize it quick. Timmins Camp, major camp that's produced between 80 and 120 million ounces, depending on whether you want to go locally or go out on the trend pit. We took this project on with about 160,000 meters of drilling, 325 core holes, and we added to the database, and we did a PEA study that great economics on it. At least it was a footprint to say you should take the project forward. We got a great management team, very similar to the management guys that helped me build mines like the Black Fox project in Timmins, Montana Tunnels, Open Pit, Gold Silver Lead and Zinc operation, and then a heap leach called for it 10 years ago. So it's a team that's very experienced guys from geology to mining to metallurgy, that sort of thing. And we put together a heck of a land package. But first, who are our shareholders? Number one, obviously Eric Sproul, he backs the juniors. When I put this project together, I first went to his office, sat down and said, Eric, I need some backing on it. And I showed him some data. I'm going to show you what the data I showed him was. And his eyes lit up and he said, how much do you need? And I said, I need $3 million to get this merger done and this company off the ground. He said, okay, Dave, I'm with you. I also had to go to Germany with the CCM group. They had a convertible on the Explorer side when we merged the company, so I had to convince them they needed to convert it and they needed to be our partners in it. They did just that. They've been strong shareholders for the last few years. And then there's myself putting money in. It's real money. I don't get free stock. And Lisa Buck, my vice president of, I call her vice president of everything. Raise your hand, Lisa. She's in the room here working with me. She's out of Toronto. And then we've got retail investors and that sort of thing. But shares outstanding, we started with a consolidated base of 54 million from 540 million, 10-to-1 consolidation. And then there's some options and warrants, and then they're made out of money. And we're undervalued just like everybody else. And hopefully with the gold price moving up, things will get rectified pretty soon. But anyway, as we're looking at this, we're looking at the Timmins Belt. The main Timmins area, the big mines were Hollinger, McIntyre, Newmont's got that with the Bill mines now. And you see that more of on our northeast side, and then on our southwest side, we abut the Timmins West, which is the original lakeshore that was built by Tony McCooch. He was building that project when I was on the far end of the camp building the Black Fox project. I bought the stock mine and mill from St. Andrews Goldfields. We drilled that off and brought it into production by 2008 at 85,000 ounces of production there. So I said, okay, let's do it again. Well, we worked on a PEA study with P&E consultants, and I'll show you the data on that. But the main key here is the land package. We picked up roughly about 6,000 hectares, and we immediately petitioned the ministry to go to lease on the property. We've completely gone to lease. We've got that signed, sealed, and delivered and filed. So we can mine on the property, and then we added a property called Ogden, and then we added another property called Price to the picture here. So total we have 10,000 hectares. We basically have all the structures on the trend, both the Destor Porcupine, the main trend being on the south end of it, and the north trend. But where it's yellow, that's where we consolidated the drilling. You know, what could be this project be? Well, with the land package, it could be, you know, your 10 million ounces, but that isn't going to happen overnight. We started drilling, added to the database. We're over 500 core holes now, over 200,000 meters of drilling on it. And when you drive out of Timmins to the southwest on Highway 101, Highway 101 splits the property. You'll see our sign there, and you'll turn right into where we're actually developing the resource base. Now, the P&E consultants took the database, and what I want to talk about is the P&E consultants doing the first PEA. It's a snapshot in time. It says, okay, here's your data, here's what you have to work with. Between indicated and inferred categories, about 1.56 million ounces of gold to start with. I thought that was a great start. And what did the PEA say? It said we had 378 million
in NPV value, a 33% return on your money. It's at $1,700 gold. The initial capital was only based on underground mining, not building a mill yet on site. Ongoing capital for the 11 years of the mine life is roughly about $200 million additional for that, but that's ongoing over 11 years. What I was looking for is what is the cash cost with bulk mining and very similar mining what they're doing at the West Mine next door to us. We used real-time numbers. P&E Consultants did. He worked with the guys next door and developed numbers of $814 an ounce, total cash cost just under $1,000 at $987 for a production profile of 85,000 ounces per year. Now, is that all there's going to be? No. There's going to be open pits here also. This is a very, I call it a mega deposit or mega mine, where eventually you're going to have open pit. But we decided to just do the underground, so we've got a document when we go to the ministry that says we can economically mine underground here. So anyway, from that, we developed a footprint of a land package that's actually going to define, where you turn in, where your waste dumps are going to be, where your water retention ponds are going to be, and that sort of thing, and getting geared up for permitting. We're going to permit a bulk sample, and what we did is said, okay, let's just pick mine A, number 9 ore body. This is a sediment-hosted unit where the rest of the ore bodies are quartz feldspar porphyries. We'll turn it up on the side here. We look at it, mine A. You see where the purple is encircling it there. That's where we're going to bring the first ramp down. So we're filing for permits. They'll be done probably in December, early January with the ministry. The ministry knows the document's coming. And we're going to ask for a test ramp system to go down and mine the first 100,000 tons. Grade will be just over 8 grams on the first ore blocks that we mine there. So I think it's going to be a roaring success. From my history of mining in the area, we've got great ground conditions. We've done a lot of work on this project. Now, I mentioned that the first data set that I took to Eric Sprott was this data set, but it's missing the top of the number 9. That's what we found when we actually projected it from down deep. And you'll see there's a lot of hits on there that are anywhere 10 to 11 meters wide that are running anywhere from, say, 5 grams to 15 gram material, and it's very uniform across roughly those 10, 11 meters. So test mining for bulk longitudinal or transverse mining, open stoping, should work out pretty well in here because they're great ground conditions. And you can actually visually see in the core over to the right there, you can see the core. It holds together very well. SGS Labs is giving us about 96, 97% recovery with the normal crush grind, gravity circuits, and float circuits, or just go Hoare cyanization. You're going to get pretty much the same. Now, we based everything on the ramping, or P&E did, on the first round here, comparing to the Timmins West Mine. And you notice they've got 3 major structures there, the West Mine, Thunder Creek, 144, and then you look at ours. We've got 9 different structures, and at the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you the newest find, which we call the South Zone here. Okay, what are we doing with this? Okay, we've got the Nordman group, we've got environmental groups, Blue Herring, they're doing all the environmental documents. They should be together by December, and they'll be filed with the ministry. And you can see there's a whole host of documents that you've got to address, from air and noise and compliance, permits to take water, and aquatics, flora and fauna, hydrology, everything that actually leads up to the environmental documents that said we've done our homework and we're ready to take this project underground. So once we go underground, what's it entail? It entails roughly about 17 million in underground development, about 15 to 1,800 meters of internal ramp development, and you can see the ramp as it's coming down. The green area would be alongside the ore body here, and the orange raise, it's called a vent raise that goes to the surface. So it's kind of like a mini mine when you go down and bulk sample this. But the main key here is we've drilled it from the surface, we're going underground. Once we get the ramp down, we'll get alongside of it, we'll drill it a second time, then we're going to go in and mine it. We're not going to have a faltered mine that says that we didn't meet grade expectations in the market. This will be the pre-feasibility leading into feasibility work. So with that, the blocks are roughly about 86,000 tons. Ounces produced will be about 22,000. Again, this is testing, bulk sampling. It's not a production profile yet. It'll be 8.13 grams, at least that's what we've got drilled from the surface. Once we get alongside of it, maybe it'll say it a little bit different. Hopefully there's an upgrade in the grades as we go. This is the capital structure, say for the development, roughly $3.25 million to actually develop the roads in, the offices, the parking lot, the power drops off to the transformers, and then actually cutting the portal, or we call it the box cut, and then driving the ramp down, and then shipping the ore off site to a custom mill. Now, the custom mill could be anywhere from Pan American Silver's Bell Creek Mill, could be the Dome. We do have agreements or standstill agreements and CAs with the bigger operations within it, and we will be discussing with them custom milling our ore in the near future. Revenue stream should be about 42 million coming off of that, or 44 million, excuse me. And net, we should make a bit of money. Now, would the money be just profits in our pockets? Yes, but that's the money you need to keep developing underground. So this is going to be a pretty good, extensive underground mine over time. Less than 10% of this property has been drilled. Property covers, like I said, 10,000 hectares. We're only taking the first 6,000 on, and we're open on strike. I like to say we're on strike, open down dip, but we're open to the north and the south on the various pieces of the Destor Porcupine structure. And again, what do we've got in the south area here? The south area is in yellow there. We started the drilling there probably about 3 or 4 months ago. Yes, we've got hits there. We now have a south zone. I don't know if we're going to call that the number 10, 11, or 12. We've got a lot of hits. We've got a lot more drilling to do. So once we get underground, we'll drill that area. We'll go back to the surface. While we're waiting to permits, we'll be still drilling from the surface. But if you look at the west deep on the number 9 structure, that's very deep down there. We're talking 700 to 900 meters in depth. Good grades, good widths. So we've got a rock and roll structure to actually start a mine off of, as well as the other ones. Now this is what we have drilled just recently on the south area. We put the drill hole database out, and there were so many hits, it begs itself, keep drilling. So we'll keep drilling that area, and then we'll put that together as time goes on. Now, where are we? We're in a premier jurisdiction, and any of these mines that have started over time usually are developed and they last 25 years, 50 years, maybe 100 years. And the Dome complex around Timmins, they're showing that they went back to the surface. They've got the open pits there. The underground is not done there. They've got to put more drilling, I think, in there. And the same with the guys next door to us, Pan American Silver on the West Mine. They've got a lot to go too, but this takes money, it takes time, it takes exploration to actually flush out these big ore bodies. You know, is it 1 million ounces? Is it 3 million or 5? I'd like to, go forward and say, yeah, this is probably your typical 5 to 10 million ounces. But I'm not going to probably have enough runway in my lifetime to see the 10 million ounces mined. So I'll give it a big shot, and I'll bring in the younger guys, and they can finish it off for me as time goes on. But anyway, we've got a proven management team, young geologists, guys that are go-getters. We've got operators and guys that have built mines before. So we're not starting from square one. We actually didn't reinvent the wheel. We brought the right people in to do this job and for the experience. Now, I've got 2 minutes more before the question and answer. Okay. Now, we've got some other projects within the Quebec area that we're not going to take on there. I've had questions. What are you doing with the property that you are joint venture with Eric Sprott? Well, that's called the Neil Project, and it's in southern Idaho. It's a great little project, high-grade gold, 15 grams to 30 gram gold on a single vein. I told Eric, I'll bring that into the portfolio and I'll give you some stock for it, which we did. But I said that isn't going to make a company. The West Cache project is a company maker. So once we get this one up and running, and keep in mind, to get it up and running is you don't just do feasibility work and then start a mine. That takes about 5 to 7 years from the time you start. We've got 2 in. The next 2 years will be spent with exploration underground, the advancement of the ore body underground. It'll be adding to the reserve base and bringing the grade up. That's the biggest key. You can't bring the grade up till you get alongside of it. Once we get underground, alongside the ore body, we'll be able to drill on 12 to 15 meter centers, and voila, we'll see what the ore body really looks like. So you drill it from the surface, you go underground, do the actual development work, you drill it again, then you go test mine it. Then we'll be able to extrapolate it to the rest of the ore body so we don't end up tripping on ourselves and saying, hey, to the market, we missed our production quotas. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to actually build the feasibility as we go. So when the feasibility is done, we can sit down with the banker and say we have truly feasibility that was developed on real-time data, real-time exploration and development from underground, and test mining the ores to make sure we can recover the gold out of it. Now, the good news is the SGS Labs has given us 96, 97% recovery of the gold on there. That's typical for the Timmins camp. So I don't expect any surprises there, and I think this project will be around about 25 to 50 years from now.